allow people who are locked in jobs because they desperately needed health insurance and couldn't get it any other way to have the peace of mind of being able to get affordable quality health insurance.
People might be able to actually cook dinner rather than have to order out and get some takeout.
The numbers themselves don't incorporate some of the important ways in which this does help labor markets by improving productivity, reducing the growth of healthcare, reducing job loss, and thus increasing entrepreneurialism.
And that good news over the Obamacare job losses ought to allow people to party like it's 1984. Why not? Apparently, the NSA is partying like it's 1984, as in George Orwell's 1984. The NSA spying on Americans, and now the report comes out that says all this has done very little to keep Americans safe. Just like the Obamacare report, which says we're going to lose jobs. Someone needs to wake up the president and tell him what's going on. It's time for a grassrootsism panel. Joining me in the studio is Patty Newman. Patty's family owns a medical practice in Southern California. You act as the administrator for that practice.
That's right.
Seated next to Patty, good to see you, Patty. Seated next to Patty is Sarah Kingston. Sarah is a conservative blogger. You can follow her on Twitter at AwakeGOP.
Hi,
Why'd you choose that name, AwakeGOP?
You know, I've always been conservative, and you know, I've been a Republican, but realizing that both political parties have their problems, I realize it's not just one or the other's fault that we're in this situation. So I'm awake. I'm realizing even what the GOP is doing that's harming our country.
Well, someone ought to wake President Obama, too. And the guy that might do it is Occupy protester and supporter Jeff Olson. Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, doing good, Rick.
All right, so let's start. Let's start with the first report on the NSA. We're hearing, how much our lives are so much safer. Why? We're finding out why Americans need to be spied upon, why private citizens need to have their phone records monitored and followed. It's a dangerous world. Now we find out that nothing's being accomplished, more or less. I'm going to start with Occupy protester Jeff Olson. Jeff, I'm going to assume this is an issue where the far right and the far left meet at the middle.
I think so. Yeah, I definitely think so. This, at the same time that it's shocking that someone's listening to my phone conversations, I also haven't been on a hijacked plane lately either. So, that's
so. Even though the report says very little has been done to prevent any attacks, you're not so sure that's the case.
Well, I'm definitely not for having my phone conversations listened to, but, if we listen to our senator here in California, Senator Feinstein, she'll tell you, we haven't been blown up lately, so we must be doing something right.
I'm surprised that Occupy believes the politician.
Yeah. Well, don't be too surprised. Don't be too surprised.
All right.
But,
I just think he's got to be honest. I really don't think he believes that. I know he is. He's being dishonest. I don't know why he's carrying the Democrat flag. You truly, in your heart, you don't like to be spied upon.
No, it's true.
You're a true liberal. I've come to know you now, and I know that we actually get married on that point. Because we both think the overreach of the government into our privacy, and not just our cell phones and the internet and our Google searches.
Right.
It's more than that.
Right. But, again, I want to tie it to this report, which says that it ain't preventing anything.
Right.
Sarah, do you think this will be an albatross around Democrats' next come 2014 elections? This is something that will be a burden to their re-election chances.
I think they don't like it because then they're being spied on too. And I think they're nervous about what they're doing, and they're using that as an excuse just to spy on conservatives and on patriots, and with the guise of, oh, this is going to keep us safer. But really, nothing has changed. We haven't had any major attacks.
Here's what I think. I think that, yeah, the IRS is targeting conservatives, but I think these phone records, I think they're hitting both Republicans and Democrats, liberals and conservatives, and I think the people don't like it. In particular, who doesn't like it is the millennial vote, I think, from what I've seen in polls. Whether or not that millennial vote goes out in a midterm election and votes in 2014, we'll find out. But it is not a positive for the Democratic Party in 2014.
No.
Speaking of the election, Jeff, will Occupy come? They're not going to come back this midterm election, are they? We're not going to see. Because I could see the Occupy being angry over this.
Right. Yeah, I think everybody's angry about something. I mean, this. But I think most folks involved with Occupy have latched on to other projects. People are working on a $15 minimum wage and a Robin Hood tax on Wall Street, and there are campaigns that are
There's my
busy.
Occupy buddy right there. There he is.
I'm for a minimum wage and for a maximum wage.
No, there's a maximum wage. There's a maximum wage right there, 15
now you're
bucks
saying,
an hour.
he's saying Robin Hood, but really, you know, Robin Hood is the whole idea of it is stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. But really, the kings were stealing from the successful working people, and Robin Hood is taking it back.
Robin Hood is the good guy. I mean, he may be a thief, but he is the good guy. Robin Hood is the hero of the story. Don't forget that.
I think the story's being misinterpreted nowadays.
Is that it?
And it's meant to target those that are successful and not necessarily the big, huge corporations that you're upset with and I'm upset with.
Right.
It's the majority of the jobs are provided by small businesses, and they are not Robin Hood.
Since you brought up Robin Hood, as you know, I spoke at Occupy a couple years ago here in San Diego, and I'm going to ask you the same question I asked that crowd. They oppose the so-called 1%. They, by and large, generally speaking, support Barack Obama. But right here, where our studios are, La Jolla, California, Barack Obama came through town. It cost $30,000 to get a photo opportunity with him. It cost $30,000 to shake his hand. It was closed to the public, not open to everyone. How is that not your Robin Hood scenario?
Yeah. Well, the president has an amazing. The bully pulpit is an amazing fundraising opportunity. The president.
So we'll give him a pass on that.
He can raise a lot of money for his party, and they always do. But he's still a politician. I mean, Obama isn't the second coming. He's not JFK and MLK. He's a Gen Xer. He's a politician. He's from Chicago machine politics. So.
All right.
Which I think is very hypocritical because he attacks the rich, and at the same time he wants money from the rich.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
He blames the rich for all the problems, of jobs.
Sarah,
and
you're
then he
racist
attacks
for saying that.
You know what? Can I borrow your race card?
I know. I left it in my pocket.
All right. Let's shift gears. Somewhat related. What I loved is when they were selling Obamacare, President Obama, I'm going to paraphrase the quote that he said. He gave an interview and he said, show me one economist that anyone takes seriously who says that Obamacare is bad for the economy. And then all the left-wing liberal economists came out and said it's great for the economy, it's great for the economy, it's great for the economy. Now the report comes out. A bipartisan Congressional Budget Office report comes out, highly respected by both the left and the right. And we learn it's going to cost 2.5 million jobs. Instead of those economists who were cheering and saying, we told you it's going to, they're now saying, well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. You can go out and become a musician. Patty Newman, you are in the medical field.
Right.
Anything here surprise you?
No, surprise? No, not at all. What I do think we need to think about is that, progressives change the meanings of words. Job lock. That is, like you were saying at the beginning of the show, this is a new term. This is to give you the appearance that now you can be free not to work.
Yeah, who is advising these Democrats? They always come up with a new term that hits, that could maybe resonate, maybe not, but it always like, well, where'd that come from? Oh, that's new.
But you know what it does, though? It locks you into poverty.
Right.
That's the honest term, that you are going to be locked into mediocrity, and at best you'll be in the middle class, and that's all you should reach for.
But listen to read what the Budget Office report really says, and
What's it really say?
Did anyone really expect that tens of millions of baby boomers could retire without any kind of adjustment within the economy? I mean, just because the retirement age, the Social Security age is at 65 or 67 or wherever we decide to put it, doesn't mean that everyone's going to make it that far.
Right.
There are some people, people who do heavy, hard labor,
right.
Folks in stressful jobs like air traffic control.
Well, why didn't they say that before? Why didn't they say, you know what, we're going to lose 2.5 million jobs because there's some people who have stressful, hard labor jobs. They're not 65 yet, but it's a good thing. Hang in there with us. Instead, they said it's good for the economy.
Well, okay.
But who's going to determine that? Who's going to be the king that determines if your job is too hard or too difficult? Who's going to be the guy in power?
But don't forget that those 20 million jobs we're talking about going away. Part of it is a realignment, and the other part of it is, I mean, I'm not really going to lose any sleep if the guy who used to have to work 3 jobs can drop off that 3rd job because now he makes $15 his minimum wage job, and he's got health insurance.
And our hamburgers are $20 now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
I do not want to pay $20 for a
Boy,
hamburger.
so you're right. $20 hamburgers and less people at work.
Yes.
And nobody will buy it.
And we were told that, you know, Sarah Palin and a lot of the conservatives, you know, they did say that this was going to cost jobs and that it was going to cost
We're going to take a quick
$millions.
break there, Sarah. But as George Will wrote over the weekend, Barack Obama is the first president who got elected not on his qualifications, not on his accomplishments, but being able to deliver good speeches. And this is what we should expect. Now we see Obamacare. All right, we'll continue with our Grassrootsism panel right after this.